Welcome into another edition of Believe in Commanders podcast, part of the Believe Network, and no longer the holdout episodes. Anthony, we're in the hold-in stage of episodes now.
Updated
Anthony,
the sign.
tell the folks what they need to know.
Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned with us because we got special guests keeping us updated. Everything Commanders related here on the Believe Network.
The guy in the middle you see right now, Steve Wyche, NFL Network's chief national reporter, good enough to give us some time here today. Don't forget, NFL Network provides daily inside training camp coverage through August 6th. Steve, thanks for joining us, and we want to thank you on behalf of all the Commanders fans because you're at camp yesterday and Terry McLaurin shows up. So clearly, no coincidences here. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, but I didn't give him a new contract and a new paper because he still hasn't hit the field yet.
Well, there is that. Let me ask you this. Do you think because he's there because he was tired of losing money, or that they've made enough progress where he feels comfortable showing up because it's kind of a good faith gesture?
I think both. And now how much progress they've made, I don't know. Typically a player, especially of his stature and where he is in his career, would probably continue to hold out because a lot of times they can find a way to forgive them, so to speak. But I think, he's probably like, look, I'm here. I want to be part of this. Let's get something done. Now, will that entice Washington to increase its offer? Maybe at some point they're going to get this done. But, I mean, those fines do stack up. Anthony, when those fines start coming, you don't want to lose money for something like that.
Yeah, I didn't get fined $50K. I was about to get fined $5K for some socks, and I went and protested that immediately. I got my socks fixed correctly. Crazy thing is the uniform person is actually in D.C. He's a former Redskins player, and I ran into him at Alumni Day, and I said, I know you. You're the one that tried to take my money. He was like, don't hold it against me. But going with Terry McLaurin,
how could you
his range is falling between 28 million, 32 million. Where do you think this may end up falling at the end of the day?
I think it's all structure. A lot of times, especially with the younger receivers, we talk about the average per year, right? The agents want that APY to be up there. And we're seeing some guys, the Amon-Ra St. Browns, DK Metcalfs, in that 30 million, just above 30 million APY. He might be comfortable settling for under that number if he gets like a certain amount of those first 2 years, the guarantees. So I think it'll come with the structure. He's not going to take a bad deal. I mean, that's just not good for the whole position group and things like that. But what's he making now? Like 15, 16 million a year. I mean, they've got to find a way to bump that up. Probably guarantee him some money in the first 2 years. So we'll see. It doesn't seem like it's acrimonious, the fact that he's there, plus the people that he's dealing with. But the fact that they have not made a ton of headway by this point either lets you know this might not. He may be in the building, but that PUP list may go on for a little while.
Yeah, that ankle will stay sore for a bit.
Yeah, we're here with Steve Wyche, NFL Network's chief national reporter here on the Believe in Commanders podcast with Anthony Armstrong, Scott Jackson here, part of the Believe Network. All right, obviously, if Terry McLaurin wasn't there yesterday, Steve, all eyes would be on number 5, Jayden Daniels, and I'm sure it still was for all the cameras for you guys. Everybody wants to know, is Jayden Daniels going to take that next step forward? Is there the continuing moving forward? Or does he have the, quote, sophomore slump, so to speak? What's been your biggest takeaway talking to people there when you were there the other day, and especially Dan Quinn, about how, Jayden Daniels going about his business to make sure that does not take place, that sophomore slump?
Well, it's him going about his business. I mean, some of the stories you hear about just his work ethic off the field are legendary, right? We know he does the virtual reality glasses, so he can go through every scenario in practice. It's not just games he does this for. He'll get the script to the practice, so he'll go through what he is supposed to see in practice. So if they try to change it up, he still knows what his options are, what his checks are, and things like that. Then he'll go out and pre-walk through, and walk through that again. So the one thing, and this is a Dan Quinn thing too, like his work ethic is so he's never going to be surprised. But then Dan Quinn puts these guys in situations, and you saw it at the end of practice on Saturday, where they're game-winning situation, Hail Marys type situations, as to where when they get in games, this is routine. Like nothing is a surprise, be it from personnel group packaging to execution to checks and things like that. So that's where Jayden really can enhance things. Because remember, last year at this time, they were trying to figure out, okay, is he better under center and the pistol and shotgun? What can he do? What can't he do? Now they go out and get him Laremy, Tunsil. They get him Deebo Samuel. Now it's like, okay, it's not just a cherry on top. We got you some sprinkles too. Let's take it to the next level.
Now, you mentioned Deebo, you mentioned Laremy Tunsil. They're brought in on offense to just help diversify this thing. Jayden took a brunt of the offensive load last year. How do you see their addition happening leadership-wise and development of their other younger players on the offensive side?
Great question. I don't think these guys are going to come in here and say, hey, here's the way to do it. I mean, I know Deebo very well. That's not really his personality. He's just going to get the ball in his hands and be the most difficult player on their offense to tackle. Whereas Laremy, just one of the most incredible athletes to ever play that position. I mean, you see him out there. He's a big, lean, massive basketball player who's incredibly physical. So that's going to allow him to hold up under some of the scramble pressure. And I think the younger players playing next to him, watching him, to see how he's so skilled, that's where they'll get their benefit. I don't think either one of them is going to come in here as a new player and be like, okay, here's how we're going to tell a team that went to the NFC Championship how to do things. So I think that's part of it. But what's interesting about Deebo Samuel is, you know, when you watch him at training camp practices and things like this, you're like, man, he's not the greatest of route runner, this and that. Well, he still has the speed. He's still getting on top of guys. But people have to remember, it's when he has the ball in his hands, there's no player in the NFL. I liken him to a modern-day Anquan Bolden, that when he has the ball in his hands, especially in space, one, he's tough to bring down. He doesn't go down on initial contact. But to his vision and his balance, there's no player, again, in the NFL who is more dangerous with the ball in his hands than Deebo Samuel.
You mentioned that, and Anthony and I have been joking around like his agent or his trainer have been sharing all these videos this offseason, right? Like, if there's any doubt this dude isn't putting in the work, here you go. And they show him doing some crazy stuff.
Yeah, he's bricked up.
Just killing it.
Yeah, I mean, look, the main thing for Deebo, because, and it was the thing when you heard me mention Anquan Bolden, the thing with Anquan is they're such physical players, their body takes a beating. So for him, it's durability, because you can use him in some running back situations. You can use him in quick screen situations. He's incredible across the middle. You know, and the veteran players in this league know that when he has the ball in his hands, he will make you feel him. So there is a different approach when you're coming for Deebo Samuel than there is for other players. Because, again, he's short, he's squatty, he's built like a running back, has very, very good hands, had a tough year last year, right? So he is on a mission. He is on a mission, which I think should be the most important factor for the Commanders this year, knowing he's out to prove a lot of people wrong.
Shoot, building on proving people wrong. Flip to that defensive side. Guy wearing number 2, Marshon Lattimore. He's coming off of a questionable season. Can he get back to what he's been and who he is and who he should be in this league? How has he looked just those first couple of days, a little bit that you saw him yesterday?
Well, mainly he's healthy. When they traded for him last year, man, I don't know if they understood the significance of that hamstring injury until they got him in the building. And Anthony, you know this, man. When you have a hammy, it is like you try to walk down a flight of stairs. It is not an easy thing to do. They're really, you always use journalists. It's tricky. It is tricky. And so once he got healthy, he probably just didn't feel comfortable. I mean, you saw A.J. Brown take advantage of him in that playoff game. So he looks healthy. And Marshon Lattimore, very physical corner, right? Good in run support, good in coverage. Like, he is what they need in terms of knowing if they have to travel a guy, they can travel him, but they won't. That's not what the scheme does. But they do like to do some things between an outside corner and a nickel, kind of some combo packages where he's really good at. But the guy everyone's talking about is the one opposite him, is the rookie Trey Amos. They're like, he has been the best DB in camp. He's long. He's already working with the ones, right? He gets hands on guys, but he can run with guys, doesn't say a word, just goes out there and orchestrates his business. And the fact that they've got a long corner that is right out of the Dan Quinn prototype playbook. Think of Richard Sherman. Think of Brandon Browner and guys like that he had in Seattle. Some of the guys that he had in Atlanta. This is a perfect fit. Now they just got to get takeaways. That is the big thing that this defense must do to upgrade.
Steve Wyche, NFL Network, chief national reporter with us here, Believe in Commanders podcast, part of the Believe Network. NFL Network provides daily inside training camp coverage through August 6th. Check it out. as Steve's doing it here with us. This defense, one of the things you mentioned, I've been harping on it too this offseason. They got to create those takeaways. Sack numbers weren't as bad as people think last year. Of course, Dante Fowler's gone now, though. They try to make it maybe a bigger look up front now with obviously Javon Kinlaw and the investment they made there. Dedrick Wise, Eddie Goldman, kind of throwing some beef up there. They had issues with the run. What the early returns did Dan Quinn tell you about how that group's look? Because obviously, that's really what's going to win this division if you're going to be a challenger to the Eagles, is stopping or slowing down Saquon Barkley.
Well, anything DQ said about the D front when I was out there, which is Saturday, is hypothetical because they hadn't put pads on yet. So you can't really tell the measure of what you're doing until you put the pads on. But their focus was to get better on first down defense. Last year, they found themselves in 2nd and 5, 2nd and 4, 3rd and 3, way too much. So that's why they went out and they beefed up their defensive front. Like their starting 4, there's not really an edge rusher who necessarily wins on what they want on first down, but they want to automatically get teams in known passing situations. 2nd and 9, 2nd and 8. All right, now we bring in Von Miller. Now we can do things where we're asking Frankie Louvu or Bobby Wagner to be creative in some of these blitz schemes that they had to manufacture pressure with last year. So that's the important part of it. Again, they've got to get better first down to get into known passing situations, and that's when the takeaways come. Don't forget, when Joe Witt and Dan Quinn were together in Dallas for a 3-year stint, they led the NFL not only in takeaways, but in non-offensive scores. I think one year they had 7 or 8 defensive touchdowns. That's what they're trying to build.
I'd love to see that from this secondary because you have a lot of smart guys, I think, that are interchangeable. And Joe Witt mentioned last year using 16, 17 guys and dogs that could go out there and hunt. It's staying in the secondary. What does the safety position look like, and what do they expect there? Obviously, Quan Martin is very interchangeable with what he can do. You've got Dominique Hampton coming from last year as well. So they bring in a couple guys free agency-wise. What does it look like at the safety position?
They're absolutely excited about that position because they know they got dogs there, right? They know the guys are going to come up, tackle in open space. Another big thing that Dan Quinn is huge on in terms of the personnel body type of player that he wants. But they've got cover guys. You talked about them being interchangeable, but they say now they've got 4 to 5 guys in there that they can rotate who they know there will be no drop off. So even if some have to come down and play nickel, or if they go in a dime and you got to put certain packages in, they got dudes who they can rotate. And that's what having a healthy Marshon Lattimore does as well. It gives you a natural corner where you can do some things to some of those inside guys on the back end to help it out. So, I mean, I can't say they're so excited about those 4 or 5, 6 safeties that they have in here that they could, that could be where some of the biggest competition in camp holds, and on that competition, because you're going to hear Dan Quinn say that over and over. Last year, they were trying to find players to fill out a roster. This is how they're good. They're going to be cutting guys who are going to be picked up right away by other teams, right? That's when you've really increased the talent pool on your team.
You mentioned Von Miller a minute ago. We were talking about, getting in those passing situations. They have nailed it in year one. They nailed it in year one with older players on 1-year deals, right? With Bobby Wagner, obviously Zach Ertz, that just crushed it in what they were able to do. Von Miller, looking at last year, from the outside, didn't obviously cover Buffalo, but thought maybe he's lost a step. But then you kind of looking closer to some of those pressure numbers and some of the more advanced analytics, and maybe not as big a drop off as people think. What do you think Von Miller has left, and how do you feel like the role will be in Washington? Will it be kind of like what Buffalo did, maybe a third of the defensive snaps, or do you think they feel like he could do more?
Probably all depends. I spoke to Von about this. I speak to him a lot. I've seen him, a lot in the offseason the past couple of years. It's interesting because we say, okay, he's a guy who comes in on those known passing downs, those obvious pass rush situations. He's got to play more than that because he's one of these guys, like a running back, the more touches he gets, the more effective he is. But at the same time, durability has been the issue for him. So you got to make sure he's right for the end of the season. So I wouldn't be surprised if at the beginning of the season he spotted more, just so they can save him to close, and we know in their division, they got to stop the run. That's going to be the most important part of things. But Von can still play the run. I mean, he's ready. He's eager. never contemplated retirement. So again, Dan Quinn will find a way to get the most out of Von Miller. I mean, him and Joe Witt, what they like to do, they've got a plan for him, but he's got something left. I mean, again, it's just the injury durability thing. That's why his numbers have come down the past couple of years.
Well, I know Dan Quinn and this staff, this whole regime, done a great job handling the players, giving veteran days off, and make sure their bodies are right. But let's work with the younger players, some of the new additions. One of my favorite guys, the guy I'm most intrigued about on the defensive side, is Kane Medrano. I know they haven't put the pads on yet, but what does his impact look like so far? And what has Dan Quinn and the staff talked about with him?
They didn't talk, a ton about him. They're just excited about the young group. And again, I'm sorry to kind of get away from the specific player that you asked about, but that's something they've already done. I mean, giving a guy like Tunsil a day off or some of these guys a day off so they can get some of these younger guys reps. Oh, man, I've already been Wally pipped right here. We got somebody really handsome there in Anthony's.
Hey, you got people kicking in a live audience sometimes.
Hey, man, you got to do it. That's special. But no, I mean, I think they feel that this is part of their plan and development. Because, again, you go back to Dan Quinn, you look at some of the corners that he's developed. Guys like Duron Bland and guys like that. And a lot of that is Joe Witt. That goes back when Joe Witt was with the Packers. When Sam Shield and Tramon Williams were cast-offs from other teams, they ended up being Pro Bowlers because they got work at times like this. They competed in certain ways as to where they not only could fill in when needed, but come in and make plays and emerge as starters. So, again, this is all part of their development track. And with Quinn and Witt being together all the way going back to their days in Atlanta, they know exactly what they want out of each other, out of this defense, and how to get players ready.
Steve Wyche, NFL Network chief national reporter with us. NFL Network, of course, daily inside training camp coverage through August 6th with all things going on around the league. I want you, if you got a chance here with us for the NFC East, I mean, clearly Philadelphia, the team to beat, maybe, not just the NFC, but all football with what they came back with. It feels like they only lose people they want to lose and always end up adding somebody that people don't think they can add before it's all said and done. But how do you kind of see the pecking order just here in the NFC East? I mean, is Dallas ready to get back to their usual playoff spot? I mean, how far away are the Giants and obviously the Commanders with a much more challenging schedule?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to think it's going to kind of fall in a similar pecking order just because, again, Philadelphia is the bedrock. They've got young talent, right? They've got some veteran players, but their young talent's only going to continue to get better. I mean, that offensive line is excellent. And then on defense, the way they've just drafted and absolutely just crushed it in the draft and getting immediate contributions out of players, on the D front, Cooper DeJean and guys like that. I'm blanking on the corner who was just a superstar last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And then, Washington's going to be right in that mix as well, unless they have a significant injury. Again, I talked about the depth and talent that they built. Now, Dan Quinn, you talk about a culture builder. He's going to continue to build on that. You're not hearing these crazy slogans that he used to use and fail, like embrace the suck, right? All that stuff out the window. We're just playing football. We're not worrying about living up to a motto. Dallas, we'll see. I mean, I think a lot of people are saying, okay, when we don't talk about Dallas is when they surprise us. Now, getting Dak Prescott back full time absolutely is going to help them. Getting CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens together should make them incredibly more explosive. But are they going to be better in comparison to the others? You don't know. Now, the Giants, defensively, the Giants should be really good again. Like, they should be a really good defensive team. Lawrence is just like that guy on the inside. Everything kind of the table's set with him. But we'll just see if they can score any points. I mean, again, when you have a situation at quarterback, one's like, well, Jackson Dart's going to play. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because usually when rookies play in that scenario, when you've got Jameis and Russ, that means by week 8, they know they got to make a change to start preparing for the future.
Yeah, you talk about Dexter Lawrence. I don't think they've had a D tackle like that since Damon Harrison was up there. Snacks was up there tormenting secondaries. Or backfields. I'm sorry, not secondaries. Speaking of a legend in Washington, though, we got to talk about it since you got to be there present for it. Santana Moss is going into the Ring of Fame. What is your experience with him, covering him over the years, and just how special is it for that moment for him to get honored and get his flowers?
I didn't really get to cover Santana when he was playing. I think I was a Scott covering the Wizards during my time.
Yeah.
Day, but
Suffering.
look, you know the impact he had as a player. I mean, during his era, he was a smaller guy, but he was someone who everyone feared, right? But then you see the impact, the way people feel about him. Okay, that goes to he was a competitor. He was a good guy. He's somebody people remember, right? It's easy to be forgotten. People remember him for all the right reasons. And that's another thing. Fred Smoot was there for that. A lot of his former teammates were there for that ceremony yesterday. And talking to some of them, they're like, since Josh Harris took over, the fact that so many veterans want to come back and they're so welcoming and enticing for guys to come back and feel part of that burgundy and gold, it means everything to them. And, I see this with a lot of teams where they're kind of cast off and forgotten, like history means nothing because it's a new era. Josh Harris' history is being built every day with Jayden and everything, but at the same time, he wants to bring the shoulders these guys stand on along for the ride.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, because he grew up in the era, that I grew up in around there. And why would you ignore it? That was the weirdest thing about the previous regime. I never got why they
it wasn't the weirdest.
best years.
The weirdest.
Now that was it was definitely odd from the previous regime to this one. It's totally different.
Yeah.
Totally different welcoming. I've been back multiple times, so I'm glad to have the burgundy and gold up there behind us. But we appreciate you joining us. Scott, do you have any other questions for Steve?
I just want to say thanks to Steve for coming on. I know our guy Eric's going to take credit for this, Eric Weiberg. But hey, Steve and I go way back, cover the Wizards together. I mean, in the Michael Jordan era, and then look at Steve. Yep. He's made it big, and here I am working with you, Anthony. But
we on the same screen right now. Shoot.
Hey, Anthony, that was paying dues back then. We were talking about the Bernie Bickerstaff, Jim Brovelli, Gar Hurd era. That's where we were with the Wizards. Hey, I appreciate
you. Really want it.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. We'll thank Eric Weinberger for helping make that happen today. Appreciate it. Steve Wyche, NFL Network Chief National Reporter, NFL Network, again, providing daily inside training camp coverage through August 6th. Anthony, we're now in the hold-in stage of the offseason, so that's cool. We're making baby steps. Hopefully, next time we discuss Commanders, we'll be talking about all full-on Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, on the field, Terry McLaurin, not just watching from the sideline. But hey, take care of that ankle, my man. Take care of that ankle. We need you for week 1.
Yeah, the ankle. You know what always makes the ankle feel better? New money. All right. For Anthony Armstrong, Scott Jackson, Believe in Commanders, part of the Believe Network. Once again, follow, comment, all those things. We need it. Do it for us. We appreciate you. We'll be back in a few days. Until then, thanks for joining us, and join us again here at Believe in Commanders.